Hi everyone, welcome, and my name's Michelle Black. I'm the National Course Convener for Global Studies at ACU, and I'm here today to just talk to you about the Global Studies degrees and to answer any questions you may have about Global Studies. I'll take your questions at the end of the presentation, so first just sit back and listen to me talk about Global Studies, and I look forward to hearing from you later in the presentation today. There are three of us who coordinate Global Studies. Global Studies is a set of what we call dual degrees, so double degrees, that rolled out across three campuses of ACU, New South Wales, where I'm based, and Victoria, and Queensland and Brisbane campus. So on each of those campuses you have a course coordinator. I'm the coordinator in New South Wales. You have Hayden Aarons in Victoria and Duncan Cook in Queensland, who can assist you with your inquiries about Global Studies. If you have particular people you'd like to write to, we're the ones to contact. So it is a set of, so as I said, 6 dual degrees or double degrees, and on this slide you can see the specific double degrees in Global Studies. We've got Bachelor of Laws Global Studies, Bachelor of Theology Global Studies, Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Business Administration Global Studies, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Global Studies, Bachelor of Applied Public Health and Bachelor of Global Studies. And so all campuses run all of those dual degrees except for Bachelor of Applied Public Health, Bachelor of Global Studies. It's only offered in Victoria because for all of these dual degrees, you're essentially enrolled in two faculties. You're enrolled in Bachelor of Global Studies, you're enrolled in the School of Arts, which is part of the Faculty of Education and Arts. And then for Business, Admin and Commerce and Laws, you're with the Faculty of Laws and Business. For Theology, the Faculty of Theology. And for Applied Public Health, you're with the Faculty of Health Sciences. What is Global Studies then? Well, it's a set of, sort of what we call multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary subjects, and at ACU a subject is called a unit, so a unit of study. So we have several units of studies that have been put together within this banner of a Global Studies degree. So in Global Studies, the aim of Global Studies is really to give you sort of multidisciplinary perspectives on different aspects of the interconnection of people in the world and how that interconnection sort of impacts on, the lives of people in the world. And the interconnection of all of us globally has certainly social, political and cultural underpinnings. So you get introduced in Global Studies and a bit of a taster for looking at Global Studies from an environmental perspective. So there's a little bit of environmental studies and geography in Global Studies that gives you an idea about how the world is obviously, one big planet, and the impacts of, environmental impacts affecting one part of the planet will certainly affect other parts of the planet. Socially, in sociology, which I teach personally, you learn about the sort of social underpinnings and social factors and cultural factors that impact on things such as global health and global health outcomes for people, which are quite different depending on where you live in the world, and whether you live in a rich or poor country will certainly have an impact as to on your health outcomes, your life expectancy, so on and so forth. So we look at some of the inequities of people worldwide in Global Studies, and we certainly look at the world's political systems and how, politics and international relations impacts on the lives of people globally, and related to that are sort of areas of human rights and social justice, and, where there's parts of the world, of course, where people are not experiencing the sort of same levels of social justice or human rights as people enjoy in other parts of the world. And so we look at that and investigate that. So all of this is sort of touched on in your first year of a Global Studies course. And then you can go on to sort of exploring more depth through the electives that you take in Global Studies, historical, the history of globalisation, sociology, political aspects of globalisation and global studies, or through the environment. Now, as I said earlier, you can do any one of these 6 dual degrees in global studies at any of our campuses except for the Bachelor of Applied Public Health, which, as you can see here, is only offered at our Melbourne campus. And if you're based in Victoria, in order to gain entry to global studies, and global studies, I may add, is a 4-year full-time degree for 5 of the dual degrees, the double degrees in global studies, except for laws. Laws is actually a 5-year full-time degree. Bachelor of Laws, Bachelor of Global Studies is 5 years because the Bachelor of Laws itself has a greater unit requirement than the other degrees. So for a law student, has to do a longer time at ACU in their degree in order to be qualified as a lawyer. And so in the dual degree with global studies, it's 5 years full time. So anyway, so for a student in Victoria, you need units 3 and 4, a study score of at least 25 in English or 20 in any other English in order to gain entry to global studies. And for specific global studies dual degrees, if you were wanting to study mathematics as an elective or a major or minor in the Bachelor of Arts, you need to have units 3 and 4 mathematics methods or equivalent in mathematics. That's from your Year 12 results. For laws, it's units 3 and 4, a study score of at least 30 in English as an additional language, or 25 in any other language, English, I should say, and applied public health, study score of at least 30 in English or 20 in any other English. And for New South Wales, in your Year 12, if you're going to want to study the Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Global Studies, you would need 2 units of English, band 3. And if you wanted to study mathematics, a few students do mathematics as arts majors or minors, you'd also need band 3 mathematics. And if you wanted to do global studies law, Bachelor of Laws, you certainly need English band 3 or English as an additional language band 4. And in Queensland, again for laws, and I may say that Bachelor of Laws, Bachelor of Global Studies is new to Queensland as of 2021. So we'll be getting, a new batch of students in Queensland doing that double degree, and you require English 4 at Year 12 level in order to get into that dual degree. So I have spoken already about the different dual degrees, but just to give you a little bit more of sort of detail about the different global studies double degrees, and the differentiation between the 6 of them. I'll just cover these now. Applied public health. Well, obviously, if you wanted to do an applied public health, Bachelor of Applied Public Health and Global Studies, your interest and focus would be in working eventually in allied health professions, things such as social work, community health worker, so on and so forth. And so in applied public health, what you're looking at is, health outcomes within large population groups, and how, particularly social, cultural and environmental factors certainly determine the health outcomes of people living in poorer parts of the world, whereas in wealthier countries such as Australia, what we call high income countries, health outcomes that are premature, death and, living with illness is often more related to lifestyle factors. And so we look, very much a public health practitioner is interested in working on programs and strategies to help people adopt healthier health practices, and at a global level to reduce the gap, the inequities between people in richer and poorer countries in terms of health outcomes, including their life expectancy. So it's a very good double degree to have, actually. And the Bachelor of Arts and Global Studies, well, Bachelor of Arts is a very flexible degree. It does allow you to take 2 majors or a major and 2 minors in arts. And in arts, you can actually read from our 2021 handbook, which is on the ACU website, and you find it there, a whole list of units that any arts student can take as majors and minors, and just some of them off the top of my head. English is in terms of literature, drama, communication, creative writing, computing, business studies, studies of religion, sociology, politics, history, both modern and ancient history, mathematics. We've got, what else we've got? Technology. We've got visual arts, we've got psychology, and we have a couple of languages available. Spanish and Italian are taught at ACU, and we can support you to study other languages through other open unis. And yeah, we've got other subjects as well, but they're the ones I could just think of immediately as offerings in arts. So really, you flexible, you take whatever appeals to you in the Bachelor of Arts, major and or minors in those subject areas, and combine that with global studies, and you'll come out very, you know, very, very skilled at writing and become out very literate from an arts degree. Literate meaning not just reading and writing, but actually understanding and interpreting the information that you read, and that you can, and you'll learn how to research, of course, as well, and basically come out a very skilled communicator. If you're going to study business administration or commerce, Bachelor of Commerce and Global Studies, then you really, you know, I would recommend speaking to the Faculty of Law and Business and going to one of their virtual sessions today or next week, and finding out precisely the sort of subjects that you can do within those degrees. But essentially, I mean, you'd be majoring, at least in commerce, in marketing or human resource management, accounting or finance, and then you can use that marketing, that major, I should say, that commerce major, as a way of sort of, you know, segueing and, you know, getting work in employment in companies that are based in Australia or overseas that have a global outlook. So in other words, companies that have offices all around the world, that are interconnected with other, you know, parts of their company, and, you know, sort of sell goods or services globally. You'd be someone who'd be, you know, very, very employable in that sort of context. And a Bachelor of Theology, Bachelor of Global Studies degree, allows you to explore, you know, and learn more about religion and society, different religions around the world, to, you know, sort of learn sort of classic theology theory, and to take a lot of different sorts of, a couple of different majors and minors in theology, including study of religions, including biblical languages, if that's of interest, you know, or you could minor or major in canonical law, and, you know, there's a lot of different aspects to theology. We have a lot of theology units and a lot of theology majors and minors. And again, if you were interested in studying theology and global studies, I would very much recommend to you going to a theology presentation, virtual open day presentation, and speaking to one of the theologians at length about the particular majors available in theology. And laws, of course, I've already spoken about, but it's actually a very popular dual degree, Bachelor of Global Studies, Bachelor of Laws. Not only are you studying to be, you know, a lawyer at the end of the 5-year degree, practicing lawyer, but, you know, you may be someone who would like to specialise in the area of human rights laws, for example, and a global studies degree would give you that sort of opportunity to get maybe experience through an internship, to, you know, work in the human rights law field. That's just one example of what you could do with that dual degree. So basically, in the whole dual degree structure, the global studies side of the dual degree is 120 credit points. Each unit of study is worth 10 credit points, is how it pans out at ACU. So 120 credit points refers to, loosely refers to 12 units of study, and 3 of those units of study are compulsory subjects, that each of which gives you that taster, as I was talking about earlier, of different aspects of global studies, history of global study, politics and international relations, and sociology. And then you go on through your electives in global studies to actually explore, you know, an aspect of global studies more in depth that appeals to you. So it could be environmental studies and sustainability, or it could be sociology, or whatever appeals to you. You take electives in that area. And then each student at ACU does 2 what we call core curriculum units, and these are worth 10 credit points each, and they've got quite a good, you know, sort of human rights and social justice dimension to them, self and society, and our world and community. And you can do those units in a normal semester time or during summer or winter school, and you know, that's something you can do online as well. And an important part of the Global Studies degree, and I think the real, you know, sort of cornerstone to the Global Studies area, is the study abroad or the international internship. So in other words, we have an overseas experience which you will spend a whole semester engaged in, and that's in year 3 of your degree. Now I'm just going to skip this slide for a minute. I have talked about all the disciplines that you could do as part of the double degree. Suffice to say, what you'll notice here is for each of the disciplines, whether it's arts, business, commerce, applied public health or theology, the global studies side of the double degree is 120 credit points plus 20 credit points from ACU core units, so 140 credit points all up. And the other degree that you'll be doing, the double degree, will be worth 180 credit points. So let's say you're doing Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Global Studies, so 180 credit points, or 18 units will be from arts, so that will include a major and 2 minors or 2 majors, plus a couple of elective units and a community engagement placement. Similarly for the other areas, plus your 12 or 14, I should say, Global Studies units, which includes your 2 ACU core curriculum units. For laws, however, as I said, it is a longer degree because you've got 260 credit points that you need to complete in the Bachelor of Laws. So it translates to equivalent of 26 units, which includes specified law units, law electives, and your community pro bono legal engagement and placements. You get experience at, you know, doing law in the field in that subject in laws. So that's part of it. So that's why that Global Studies dual degree as a full-time degree will take you 4 years or 5 years if you're doing laws, or you can elect to do it part-time. Students often start working at some point in the degree and may start working full-time, and you can then convert to being a part-time student, in which case it'll probably take you longer to complete the degree, but you know, you're working on 1 to 2 units per semester and working in a paid job at the same time. In year 3 of your degree, so if you're commencing in 2021, so in 2023, you will be going overseas, and we are making the assumption that by the time we get to 2023, we will be travelling again. This year's been very disrupted with COVID-19. Next year's international travel will also be disrupted, but we are making the assumption by 2022 that we will be travelling internationally again. There will be a vaccine, and so, you know, you guys are sort of probably coming in at a good time to that end. And all students will have the opportunity to go overseas for 3 months. So that's a whole semester. And so in that 3 months, you'll either study abroad at another university, and ACU has a lot of international partner universities. Many of them are Catholic universities, not all, but many are. And so it could be something like St. Paul's University in Chicago in the USA, maybe where you want to go and live and work for a semester, live and study for a semester. Or you may want to go to Rome. We have a campus in Rome, of course, and you may want to study from our Rome campus. France, England, you know, other parts of the world that are more sort of developing countries. You may be able to study at a university in Asia or South America. You know, we do have sort of partner universities in those parts of the world as well. And so you basically choose subjects to study that are approved to study. You have a fair bit of flexibility in what you study. You may want to study languages while you're living overseas and study those at the university that you're studying at. And, you know, and it's a very exciting experience, of course, and a very popular one. Alternately, instead of studying abroad, students in the Global Studies program, some students also will do instead an internship overseas. So here you're placed with an organisation, and we can help place you with an organisation, or you can choose an organisation and we can see if it's possible to approve you to do an internship. So you're basically working with an organisation on particular projects as an intern, so, you know, unpaid paid position, and you live overseas with a homestay family, or if you have family overseas you want to live with, you can do that, and you are interning for 3 months in an organisation. This is a very good opportunity for students who are interested in trying to secure work overseas, to make the most of that internship and use it as a place to, and students have obviously used it as a way to get a job, to actually get a job from the internship organisation. And we also have internships in not just some of the countries I mentioned earlier, which are sort of quite common and favourable places, but I've also had students do internships in countries like Brazil, in Thailand, in Cambodia, and I have to say also the internships and the study abroad, as an ACU student, you will qualify for some funding to help you pay for these overseas internships or study abroad experiences, and that funding partly can come from the government, so you apply as a student when you do an international unit overseas for something called Overseas Help, HELP, and that's something that you pay back later to the government when you're working full-time. So the government can give you funding, and we also at university at ACU have our Vice-Chancellor's study grant, so students doing the Global Studies Overseas Experiences qualify for $2,500 each to help towards their overseas experience. And for some of the overseas experiences based in developing countries, specifically Cambodia and Thailand, there's also some additional funding that's available some years through the government, up to about $3,500 per student. So that's really helpful too for students who specifically would like to go to those countries to do an internship. So that really is the linchpin of the Global Studies degree, and it's obviously a degree that helps you, not only gain, deeper understanding and knowledge of globalization and global processes in different sort of disciplinary contexts, but also gives you a hands-on experience of living or working, living and studying, or living and working overseas. So that can help with your employability. Absolutely it does. And for our graduates, they're often probably about 80% of working in Australia when they graduate in organisations, companies or fields in community health or fields like that, that are actually really globally focused organisations, and who therefore want people who are very familiar and comfortable in working in global sort of context, working with people all the time on other sides of the world who understand different sort of cultural sort of norms and differences between people, who may even have another language they can use, and who've had experience living and working overseas. That's highly valued by employers. And so there's definitely very clear and quite a wide variety of employment outcomes for global studies graduates. And if you have any questions now, I am happy to field those, and I'll hand it back to my producer to help do that. Thank you. And let me just finish the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michelle. We have a question from Lara. She asks, hi, I was just curious, what job options are there for when you graduate from the Bachelor of Arts Global Studies dual degree?
Oh, thank you, Lara. Okay, so yeah, I mean, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Global Studies probably is, it's a very flexible degree. And I think with the Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Global Studies, students, are looking more towards sort of job options that are going to enable jobs that can, I've seen graduates go into community work, I've seen graduates go into sort of development studies fields, working as researchers, as working as project officers in community organisations. A lot of arts graduates seem to go into sort of community areas of work and organisations that are what we call NGOs, non-government organisations. So non-government organisations and community organisations which may be funded through the government are specifically set up to help people who are sort of from more marginalised backgrounds, maybe working sort of with refugee communities would be an example of that sort of organisation, maybe you working sort of in youth contexts or whatever. And, being able to use your arts and knowledge as, in terms of communication and writing and doing research into issues related to, let's say it's refugee work that you're doing in an organisation, and using your global studies and knowledge and experience of matters, political matters, and sort of human rights areas around refugees to bring to that job would be invaluable skill to have. And so a lot of jobs that not just are about sort of working with people, but also require you to be able to know how to I guess use evidence, use it well, research well and write well, and advocate for groups of people who, who are quite disadvantaged in many ways and marginalised, is what I do see a lot of arts and global studies graduates do. I also may add too, I know I didn't mention it in this presentation because we haven't signed, sealed and delivered it yet, that we're also working on developing an additional global studies dual degree, which I would think be available in 2022, and people can transfer to degrees, and that's a Bachelor of Education Primary and Bachelor of Global Studies. And obviously that's for people wanting to be primary teachers who get a hands-on opportunity to teach primary to students in what in that degree will be global studies opportunities in countries such as Fiji.
Thank you.
And I see you've put our scholarships link up, Ray. Thanks for that.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot there. So it's a good one to look through.
Yeah, very much.
I might just add, while we're waiting for any other questions, I might just ask, in regards to the dual degrees, what would the study load look like for an average week?
Well, I mean, most students are taking 4 subjects a semester, so 4 units per semester. So your study load is just going to be based on the, standard unit of study. So your attendance on campus, or if it's an online subject you're doing, it's equivalent, is about 3 hours a week. And so that's your actual attendance. And then on top of that would be each subject suggests, I never quite know how many hours a student does outside of that. I mean, you've got assignments and readings and so on. So, at least another sort of 3 hours outside of your on-campus attendance would be expected from my end. And that's why students do go sometimes between full and part-time mode. If they find in one semester, look, it's too much, I can't keep up with all of this. You've got the first 4 weeks of any semester to make up your mind and drop out without any financial penalty if it's just too much, and then you can do that subject again next year. And we're starting to offer a lot more sort of subjects, particularly in arts, in summer term as well.
Awesome. Maybe we'll give it another minute or 2 before we wrap up.
Okay. And I'm also available after this session on the Zoom course advisory services as well, sessions till 3 o'clock today.
Awesome. And I'll share the links also for that.
Okay, great. All right, so if there are no other questions, I suppose, thank you, Lara, thank you for your question, thank you for other participants, and my over and out on that one then, Raymond. Thank you. Okay then, I'm going to hang up. All right, bye.